Well, now that we've turned the page to December, our minds go wholeheartedly toward Christmas. And over the next 4 times that we get together, I just want to focus our attention on what matters the most about this particular season. You know, in Scripture, names serve as the windows into character. They give us insight, especially names of God. Let us understand His nature. And when it comes to Jesus, obviously His name is Jesus, Yeshua. He saves. That highlights priority number 1 of His life and His time here on earth. He's also called Emmanuel, God with us. Not God way off there distant from us, but God who came to dwell with us. But in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, there are 4 other names that are applied to Jesus. And we don't think of these very often. And especially when you picture Him as the little bitty baby there in the borrowed feed trough in the stable in Bethlehem. But these 4 names give us great insight into His mission and priorities. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, this book written to the southern kingdom of Judah, it's a tough time. There are tough words in this book, and yet there's also hope that comes through the future Messiah, Jesus Christ. Isaiah 9:6 says, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon His shoulder, and His name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." Over the next few weeks as we get together, I want to just make a few comments on each of these descriptions of Jesus. Their titles, yes, royal titles, official designations, but they're also windows into His character and what He values most. And today, I want you to think about Jesus as our wonderful counselor. Even this season of the year makes us in need of wisdom. I don't know about you, but often this season of year causes me to slow down. I get a little bit more introspective than normal. I think about relationships that I wish were a little different than they are. I think that's a healthy process as long as it's correction and not some kind of self-condemnation. We think about priorities. For many people, there's a lot of job changes that come in December and January as people say, I want a career that's fulfilling and makes a difference, not just a job that meets the needs of our family. It's a time of thinking through a lot of significant decisions about life. We also need wisdom just coping with the holidays. How easy it is to overschedule our time, to overspend our budget, to overeat our food allocation, and just in general overstress our emotions. We need wisdom. And that wisdom is found in Jesus Christ. How do you access that wisdom, we wonder? Well, you know, Jesus is described to us as the living Word. John 1 says, in the beginning was the Word. He's always existed. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And verse 14 of that same chapter says, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld His glory, the glory as of God the Father. Jesus shows us the very heart of God. And as you think about that means that this living Word, Jesus, He helps us to understand this written Word. In fact, when Jesus was struggling with a decision, when Jesus was faced with just difficulties, even direct conflict with Satan, He turned to this book, the portion of it that He had. We call it the Old Testament, the Hebrew Scriptures. And so I would just encourage you, this season, will you take some time each day to open up this book, to try to hear from God? We have really 2 sources of wisdom. One is the written Word, but then also in this written Word, we read about the living Word. And if you'll look through Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John, maybe the next few weeks, don't make it a burden. We're already busy and stretched, but even just a chapter a day will give you insight into how Jesus coped with competing priorities, with the stresses of life. And I think you'll get great guidance from Him. He's still our wonderful counselor. He has the answers to the conflict in our relationships. He has the answers to a struggle of how do I balance competing priorities that both seem equally important. Sometimes I just don't know what to do, and I'm so thankful that this Christmas, part of our celebration focuses on Jesus, our wonderful counselor. He's not just a source of wisdom. He's wisdom. He is wisdom. And this book, the Bible, makes his life and his essence available to us. Merry Christmas, and think this week about Jesus, our wonderful counselor. We'll see you next time.